Hi, it's Amanda here, Creative Gardener. So, in today's show, what I'm going to do today is I have to cut down this cassava plant. It's been growing for the past 7-8 months, and I have harvested many cassava, and I've cut down many of the other plants that we have, and I've replanted them. And what I'm going to do today is just show you the process in digging this up and cutting it back, and also some of the plants that I've been planting so far. I'm so pleased with growing cassava because it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I've always wanted to create some of the things that you can make with cassava, and so we're going to get going. Okay, so this is it up close. This is the cassava, and this is what it looks like once it's fully grown. And I'll show you some smaller plants that have been in the ground for about 2 weeks. So what happened here is that it had five stems, and as I've been going along, I've cut the stem. I've dug up all the other cassava and replanted those, and then the latest ones that I've been doing, I've just been cutting this gradually because it was just taking quite a long time in terms of, you cut. Basically what I've been doing is cutting them and then cutting separating the sticks, because this stem is what you're then going to replant to get cassava. And I didn't realise it could grow this tall, but it's grown this tall. So when I cut this back, I'm going to cut it into sections and use the leaves for mulch on the ground here. And I'll show you some of the plants. So as I say, you cut them. This was a bed. There's 2 beds here. One I'm going to have to recover to get rid of this, but I also want to create a path. So need to dig in, but I know that's not what this video is about. It's about cassava. So this is what it looks like as a small plant. You take the stem, you cut it, and you put it in the ground. Now I've seen people put it in slightly horizontal, but either way, I've done it this way, and it's grown, and I've grown healthy plants and harvested cassava. So along this bed, I've done 4. And so what I'm going to do is, once this is up, I'm going to put some in the middle. So I've got cassava. Let's just go on this side. I want to be careful. There's a weed here that kind of really grows long and then can trip you up. So this one I just stuck in the ground. It's been growing really well, and so it will send out the roots and the tubers underneath the ground there. This one is similar to what this will look like, because as you get closer to the bottom, it's a lot harder, so it's harder to cut. So I just thought, rather than throwing it away, I will stick it in the ground, and it's starting to grow. So we will be harvesting cassava from that. Cassava, this is a clay soil. It seems to grow really well in this clay soil. So or in this particular section, it's grown really well. I've got about 12 to 16 other cassava plants in other areas, and I'll show you that, and then we'll take this monster down, as you can see in the back there. So when I take this down and cut up the sticks, as I said, I'm going to be planting kind of like alternate. I'm not sure how this managed to happen, because what I was doing was planting it like in a triangle. So you use up as much space as possible. You maximize the space. So on this side here, you've got 3 here. So I'm going to put 1 there, 1 there, 1 here, and 1 here. So again, you're maximizing the space, and you can see that a lot better when you come over here. So I've got some more growing here. I think all in all, I had 4 cassava plants to begin with. We're in a kind of breezy spot. And so as you can see the pattern that I've used to maximize the space. Once they're in, I think you have to know where you want them, because once they're in, they don't like being moved, and that was the mistake I made. I planted them too close together and then tried to move each alternate one, and they didn't like it. So I planted them alternately, and just these two here, and I've got my banana tree here. So all of this area has to be taken up, and this is the kind of grass that kind of stretches itself. But once I've cleared those up, this area will be a lot clearer. I've been mulching so that they conserve water, but they seem to be doing fine. And they'll be growing for about 7 months, so they should be ready around February. And then for the little tiny random sticks that you also get, I just put them in the ground, so not everything has taken. So this one would have taken. This one is dead. Is dead. But ones like this, I'm just kind of giving them a chance and seeing how they do. You know, it's just like, I'll show you which part it's from, and then you've got 3 going along there. So with some of the sticks, I'll put them here as well, and so I'll have 3 separate beds with cassava. The other good thing is that because they send their roots, you know, quite deep, like in terms of that's what you're going to be digging up to eat, in terms of the cassava, it helps, you know, break up the soil. As I say, we've got really heavy clay soil here, so but they seem to be thriving okay. Okay, so let me show you, and we'll get on with digging this up. Because I could talk all day and then we get nothing done. Okay, so when we look at the cassava, the bit that I kind of showed you that I planted was like these. So you don't normally plant these, but what I did was just take off all the leaves and put it in the ground and hope, you know, you never know what it's going to produce. So we're going to cut these 2. I'll show you cutting these 2 and trying to dig this up. I've got my fork, and we're going to get on. So as you can see, where I've cut them off, they've started to grow. Yeah, so I desperately need to get them up and see what we've got under there, see how much cassava we can harvest. And again, where if you leave them in for too long, they just regrow, and you know, you're not really going to get the harvest that you had wanted. So let's get going. Okay, so I'm just going to take my rake and we're going to cut these 2 stems off, and then we'll get off the plastic gloves, and then we'll get the leaves off. That's one. Oh, wasn't that lucky? I got it right smack bang in the middle of the plants. So that's quite a lot, isn't it? And there's so many sticks that we can get in terms of from the cassava. I'm going to just put this to the side for the moment, because the main thing I want to do is get the cassava out of the ground. Okay, so here you can see I pulled it up. I could hear some snapping going on. So this is the cassava, and what was breaking off was the pieces. But all I'm going to do is, you know, dig and see how much I can salvage. because they sounded like quite large pieces, so you want to get as much as possible, because I mean, you know, you wash and peel that, and that's, you know, that's a meal. So, oh my gosh, look how big it is, how big they've grown. I think what's happened, because I left them in the ground for so long, they have got so big, and ideally you don't really want it to get too big, because they get a lot harder to cut. But and look here, you can see where they're starting to grow again, so they definitely needed to come out. So I can see, oh, I think I need my chair. I can see just some little bits, and they'll just go into the not the recycling, but this, there's a nice piece, and it has that kind of, it spreads itself like a kind of star. So just make sure I've got as much as possible. I heard some more kind of breaking off, so I'm just going to use this, and this will just gently, you know, if there's anything else in there. Covering it up more than anything. But I think, let me see what's broken, because that then will give me an idea of how much I'm looking for. One, two. I'm so impressed. I think there's just two bits that broke off, and I've got one here, and this is, I think that's it. But that's like a monster size, isn't it? Cassava. So when you go into the shop, you normally find them this length, and they're a lot darker brown. Mine have split as well. So again, it's because they've been in the ground, I think, for too long. And this is, they had to come out now to really have been any benefit. But I am so stoked. I say that all the time. You know, doing this gardening, it's such hard work, but it's so rewarding to know that from one stick, and that's or several sticks, I was given like 8 sticks, and as I say, I put them all in the ground and then moved some, and the ones I moved didn't like it, and so I had 3 main plants growing just like that, 3 plants, and I've harvested all of this. No, 4 plants. Yeah, so this is the last one. This is the 4th one that I've dug up. And now, next February, I'll have more cassava to harvest. I will just maybe consider the sizes. Not leave them in for too long, because this is, yeah, this has been in for like 8-9 months. Like producing a baby. But look at all of that. So what I'm going to do with this is, I would normally wash them off and peel them and then freeze them. And I've got, I guess, a few people to give away so they can taste. And yeah, so now this is up. What I will do is just break this up, because I'm not going to do it now. Gosh. But break it up a little bit more, and the rest of this area needs to be cleared. I'm not going to plant the cassava back in this particular spot, so I will work around. So maybe put one here, yeah, put one here, one there. So I'll probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in this particular spot, and then do behind, because I've got enough of the sticks to cut up. So what I'm now going to show you is how I would normally cut them up and then get them ready for going back into the soil. Okay, so here's the tops. I've chopped off the main stem, and so you normally have 3 of these at the top, and what I do with this is cut it here. So we've got that one, and then again we have an additional 3. Now most people don't I guess most people don't plant these bit, but I just think to myself, you know, I'm going to plant it and see what happens. If it doesn't have if it doesn't produce any cassava, then that's fine. But if it grows, that's like double the benefit. So this was growing. So yeah, like I've not seen it grow this much. So this is because I'd left it in the ground. You had so much growth. So I might just put those to the side. The right, you know, right at the top. These bits here. But you know, see how I get on with the main stem bits. So I normally cut them like this, and all I'll do is remove the leaves and use the leaves to put back into the ground. So around this area I'll put all the leaves and some of the Mexican sunflower, and they'll feed the soil again. So as I say, I cut this, you know, the main stem had been cut, and I put them over there, and what I'll do is I'll put them out of the sun, because I'm not able to plant them today. I've probably got about a week before you know, I think maybe a week, nearly 2, depending on if they're in the bright hot sun, then you know they'll kind of, you won't be able to use them after a while. So I'm just going to cut that there and use that. So this is how I worked it and got those in. So you can see those there, and they're growing, and they started growing like they were literally just the sticks. So you can see the sticks. Let me see if I can zoom in there. So you can see the sticks. There's 8 of them there, and I'll move them into a more shaded spot, and then once I've dug up this area, I will put them in the ground. So it's this spot here where they're going to go. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the harvest for next year. I might strategically put some of the younger, so these ones that I was saying it might not necessarily grow, I'm going to grow them around the edges, around the edges where I'm putting a hedge. And just if they grow, if the leaves grow, that's good. If you get cassava, it will push out and nourish the soil, and I'll be able to harvest some. So anyway, so I'm going to get on with this, and we'll then have to deal with this and separate them as much as possible, because that stem there is really, really thick. So I'll probably need a saw to cut that, and I probably won't, and that's why I didn't do it to some of the other ones. It was so thick, it was too hard for my thing to cut it. So yeah, let's get on. I'll do this and we'll finish up. Okay, so as I said, it's so nice to be able to harvest the cassava. So with the sticks, the ones with the leaves on, I just literally take them off. Just like that, and put it to the side. There's some, yeah, I don't mess about here. And as I say, these are what I'm going to be putting in the ground as well, because you'll get cassava from this. I'm not sure how big it will be, because when I first planted them I had sticks like I've shown you before, but the ones I planted in this garden, they've grown. And so what I'm left with is loads of leaves that I will chop and drop, lay on the ground. Yeah, and so that's great that, you know, you're able to nourish the soil with the leaves. All the nourishment had come up into the leaves to help the cassava to grow, and you're able to reap the benefits in more ways than one. So as I said, these little ones where I was gonna let me just cut this, where I was gonna just maybe have them around. So these little ones where you don't really expect it to grow, but it's still, you know, a plant. And if you take most of the leaves off and just leave the top ones, you're going to get some growth. Yeah, so it doesn't have to, let me cut that. So it doesn't have to focus on the lower leaves, but it can, I really do love it out here. You can grow that. So we're gonna grow that, and you know, as and when I get a result, I'll let you see it. But you always get a good set of leaves, and that's really great. And what I'll probably do is lay them down, and what it means is that I might not even have to pull the weeds, because this might be enough coverage to do that.